The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest room ever built by any species. It floated in space near the center of the galaxy. The walls were made of crystal that showed the stars outside. Representatives from over 200 alien species sat in rows that went up and up like a giant stadium. They all looked different. Some had tentacles. Some had scales. Some were made of light. Some were so strange that human eyes could not understand their shape. Today, they were all looking at one woman. Admiral Helena Vance walked to the speaking platform in the center of the hall. She was 60 years old with gray hair cut short and a face that had seen too many wars. Her uniform was dark blue with gold buttons. On her chest were medals and ribbons from 30 years of service. She moved like someone who was not afraid of anything. Behind her, a holographic screen came to life. It showed a ship. The aliens in the room leaned forward. Some made sounds of confusion. Others made sounds of fear. A few laughed. The ship on the screen was black like the space between stars. It was long and shaped like a knife. There were no decorations on it. No windows. No lights. Just smooth, dark metal that seemed to eat the light around it. Distinguished representatives, Admiral Vance said. Her voice was calm and clear. The United Earth government presents its contribution to the Allied Defense Fleet. This is the Prometheus Unchained. Silence filled the hall for 3 seconds. Then the Torvash ambassador stood up. The Torvash were big creatures. They looked like bears made of stone with 4 arms and red eyes. Ambassador Krixtal was the largest Torvash that Helena had ever seen. His voice was like rocks grinding together. "One ship?" he said. "Humanity sends one ship? The Devourer swarm has eaten 15 star systems in the last year. They have killed billions. And you bring us one ship?" Other aliens started to talk. The Velkari delegation waved their long tentacles in anger. The Rithian insects clicked their mandibles. Even the peaceful Olmari flower beings rustled their petals in worry. Admiral Vance waited. She did not speak. She did not move. She just waited until they were quiet again. "Yes," she finally said. "One ship. One ship is enough." Ambassador Krixtal laughed. It was not a nice laugh. Human arrogance. "Your species has been in space for only 300 years. We have been traveling between stars for 10,000 years. Our fleet has 500 warships. And you think one ship can make a difference?" "I do not think," Admiral Vance replied. "I know." She touched a button on her wrist. The holographic image changed. Now it showed the inside of the ship. Diagrams and numbers appeared. The aliens looked at them. Slowly, the room became very quiet again. Ambassador Krixtal sat down. His red eyes were wide. The Velkari High Commander, a creature with silver tentacles and 3 eyes, spoke in a soft voice. "Admiral Vance, these numbers must be wrong. This says your ship has 47 fusion reactors. The numbers are correct. The Weapons Limitation Treaty of Kirvex states that no vessel may have more than 12 reactors. This is to prevent any single ship from having too much power. I am aware of the treaty. Then you know that your ship is illegal." Admiral Vance smiled. It was a small smile, the kind that made people nervous. The Prometheus Unchained was not built to follow old rules. It was built to end a war. An old Kelvori observer sat in the highest row of seats. The Kelvori were the oldest species in the galaxy. They were made of living crystal that glowed with soft light. This one had been alive for 50,000 years. She had seen empires rise and fall. She had watched young species destroy themselves with their own weapons. Now she watched the human admiral with great interest. "Tell us," the Kelvori said, her voice like singing glass. "Why did your people build such a thing?" Admiral Vance looked up at the ancient being. For a moment, something sad passed across her face. Then it was gone. 12 years ago, the Devourer swarm attacked Earth's colony on New Helsinki. 50,000 humans lived there. Farmers, teachers, children. We sent a distress call to the Allied fleet. She paused. The room was completely silent. The fleet arrived 6 days later. By then, everyone was dead. The swarm had eaten everything. Every person, every animal, every plant. They left nothing but empty buildings and bones. Admiral Vance's voice did not shake, but her hands were tight fists at her sides. "After that, we asked the Council for better weapons. You said no. Too dangerous. We asked for more ships. You said no. Too expensive. We asked for help to protect our colonies. You said no. Too many other problems. She looked around the room at all the alien faces. So we stopped asking. We went home, and we built something that would never need to ask for help. The holographic image changed again. Now it showed weapons. So many weapons. Missile tubes lined the ship like scales on a fish. Energy cannons the size of buildings. Something called a probability collapse generator that made the alien scientists in the room gasp in shock. The Prometheus Unchained carries more firepower than your entire Allied fleet combined, Admiral Vance said. It can fight for 3 years without resupply. Its hull can repair itself. Its computers can track 10,000 targets at once. And it has one more feature that I think you will find interesting. She pressed another button. The image showed the ship's crew quarters. They were small and simple. 300 beds, a dining hall, a gym. Nothing special. 300 humans, the Admiral said. That is all it takes to run this ship. 300 people who watched their friends and families die while the galaxy did nothing. 300 people who decided that it would never happen again. Ambassador Krixtal found his voice. This is a war crime. You cannot build such a weapon. We will not allow it. Admiral Vance turned to face him. Her eyes were cold. Ambassador, the Devourer swarm is coming. In 2 months, they will reach the Kareth system. 15 billion people live there. Your Allied fleet cannot stop them. You know this. Everyone in this room knows this. She pointed at the image of her ship. That is your only hope. So you can call it illegal. You can call it a crime. You can call it whatever you want. But when the swarm comes, you will be very glad that humans do not follow your rules. Admiral Vance walked out of the hall. No one tried to stop her. In the highest seat, the old Kelvori watched her go. The crystal being's glow changed to a color that meant deep thought. Interesting, she said to herself. Very interesting indeed. The military exercise was supposed to show the strength of the Allied fleet. 12 different species had sent their best warships to the Cygnus system. They would practice fighting together. They would learn to work as one force. That was the plan. Captain David Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus Unchained and watched the other ships through his window. There were 47 of them. Valkyrie dreadnoughts with their long silver hulls, Torvash battle carriers covered in weapon platforms, Rithian swarm ships that moved like clouds of metal insects. Each one was huge. Each one was powerful. The Prometheus looked small next to them. That was not an accident. Captain, said Lieutenant Maya Torres from her weapons station. The Valkyrie flagship is signaling. They want to know why we are staying at the edge of the formation. David smiled. He was a young captain, only 35 years old. He had black hair and calm brown eyes. People said he never got angry. People said he never got scared. Both things were true. Tell them we do not want to get in the way, he said. Maya sent the message. A moment later, she laughed. They say we should not worry. Ships our size are not expected to do much anyway. The bridge crew chuckled. There were 15 of them here. All human, all volunteers. They knew what their ship could do. The aliens did not. Commander Yurix of the Valkyrie flagship Eternal Vigilance was feeling good about himself. His ship was the largest in the exercise. It had 2,000 crew members and enough weapons to destroy a small moon. He had been fighting in space for 60 years. He had won many battles. The human ship did not impress him. Look at it, he said to his tactical officer. So small, so simple. The humans are children playing with toys. They think one ship can matter in a real war. His tactical officer, a young Valkyrie named Sin, looked at his screens. Commander, our sensors are having trouble reading the human ship. There is something strange about its hull. Cheap materials, Commander Yurix said. Humans do not have good technology. Everyone knows this. The exercise began. The alien fleet moved in perfect formation toward a field of asteroids. These rocks were the practice targets. The ships would destroy them to show their firepower. The Valkyrie went first. 20 missiles flew from the Eternal Vigilance. They hit the largest asteroid and broke it into pieces. The crew cheered. The Torvash went next. Their battle carrier launched plasma bombs that melted 3 asteroids into liquid rock. Ambassador Krixtal, who was watching from the command deck, smiled with pride. One by one, the other species showed what they could do. Energy beams, nuclear torpedoes, gravity weapons. Each display was more impressive than the last. The asteroid field slowly became smaller. Finally, it was humanity's turn. Human vessel, Commander Urich said over the communication channel. You may fire at the remaining targets. Try not to miss. Captain Chen pressed a button. All hands, weapons test alpha. Fire when ready. On the Prometheus Unchained, something strange happened. The smooth black hull began to move. Panels slid aside. Sections rotated. What had looked like simple armor was actually thousands of hidden weapon ports. The alien ships stopped cheering. Lieutenant Torres spoke calmly. Targets locked. All systems ready. Firing in 3, 2, 1. The Prometheus Unchained screamed. There was no other word for it. Every weapon on the ship fired at the same moment. Missiles flew out in clouds. Energy beams cut through space like burning knives. Strange purple light pulsed from devices that the aliens had never seen before. The asteroid field was 3 light seconds away. That meant it took light 3 seconds to travel from the ship to the rocks. The destruction took 4 seconds. When it was over, the asteroids were gone. Not broken, not melted, gone. Nothing was left except dust that spread out in an expanding cloud. Commander Urich stared at his screens. His tentacles were frozen in shock. That is not possible. Tactical Officer Sin's voice was shaking. Commander, I counted the weapons fire. The human ship just released more ammunition than our entire fleet carries. In 4 seconds. That is definitely not possible. There is more, sir. More? The ship is reloading. All weapons are returning to full capacity. It will be ready to fire again in 30 seconds. Commander Urich slowly sat down. His legs could not hold him anymore. On the Torvash battle carrier, Ambassador Krixtal was shouting at his officers. How did they hide this? How did we not know? Our spies have been watching Earth for years. The ship was built in secret, Ambassador. Underground facilities. False records. They fooled everyone. Krixtal's red eyes burned with anger. And fear. Mostly fear. Captain Chen watched the reactions of the alien fleet with quiet satisfaction. Beside him, his first officer, Commander James Wright, allowed himself a small smile. I think they are impressed, James said. They are scared, David replied. There is a difference. Is that a bad thing? David thought about it. Fear can make people do stupid things. We need them to respect us, not fear us. We need them to understand. Understand what? That we built this ship to protect them, not to threaten them. The communication system beeped. It was Commander Urix calling from the Eternal Vigilance. Human Captain, the Velkari said. His voice was different now. The pride was gone. I must apologize. I said your ship was a toy. I was wrong. No apology needed, Commander, David said. We did not build the Prometheus to impress anyone. We built it to fight the swarm. Can you really defeat them? David looked at his crew. Maya Torres at weapons, James Wright beside him, Sarah Kim at navigation, Marcus Johnson at engineering. All of them had lost someone to the swarm. All of them had volunteered for this mission knowing they might not survive. We can, David said. And we will. That is a promise. The exercise continued, but no one was paying attention anymore. All the alien ships were scanning the Prometheus, trying to understand its secrets. Their scientists were sending confused messages back to their home worlds. Their military commanders were writing emergency reports. In 1 hour, the human ship had changed everything. Ambassador Krixtal returned to the council station that night. He called for an emergency meeting. The humans had broken too many laws, he said. They had built an illegal weapon. They had to be punished. But as he prepared his accusations, a message arrived from the council's long-range sensors. The Devourer swarm had changed course. They would reach the Kareth system in 6 weeks, not 2 months. 15 billion lives were now in greater danger than ever, and the only ship powerful enough to stop them was the one that Krixtal wanted to destroy. The universe had a cruel sense of humor. On the Prometheus Unchained, Captain Chen read the same report. He called his crew together in the dining hall. The timeline has changed, he told them. We have less time to prepare, but our mission remains the same. We will go to Kareth. We will fight the swarm. We will win. And if the council tries to stop us? Maya asked. David's calm eyes showed something hard underneath, something that had been forged in the fires of loss and grief. The council can try, he said, They will fail. Nothing in this galaxy will stop us from keeping our promise. Nothing. 300 humans raised their voices in agreement. The sound echoed through the ship. Far away, the devourer swarm continued its endless hunger. They did not know what was coming for them. The council chamber was full of angry voices. Ambassador Crixtal stood at the center, waving his forearms as he shouted accusations at anyone who would listen. His red eyes were bright with fury. His stone-like skin had turned a darker shade, which meant he was very upset. 17 violations, he roared. The humans have broken 17 articles of the Civilized Warfare Accords. Their ship is an insult to every law we have made. Admiral Helena Vance stood on the other side of the chamber. She did not shout. She did not wave her arms. She just waited, her hands clasped behind her back, her face showing nothing. The council speaker, an ancient Velkari named Elder Thros, raised one tentacle for silence. It took a long time for the room to become quiet. Everyone was too excited. Ambassador Crixtal, Elder Thros said, please present your case clearly, one accusation at a time. Crixtal took a deep breath. His aides handed him a data pad. He began to read. First, the human vessel has 47 fusion reactors. The law says no ship can have more than 12. This alone should be enough to condemn them. The law exists, Admiral Vance replied calmly, to prevent ships from operating alone for long periods. It was meant to make sure every fleet needs supply lines. Our ship has 47 reactors for a different reason. What reason? 46 of them power the weapons. The room exploded with noise again. Elder Thros had to bang his ceremonial staff on the floor many times before order returned. Crixtal continued. Second, the human vessel carries probability collapse generators. These weapons can destroy matter at the subatomic level. They were banned 2,000 years ago because they are too dangerous. The devourer swarm, Admiral Vance said, does not care about what is dangerous. They eat planets. They eat stars. They have killed more beings in the last 20 years than any war in galactic history. I believe dangerous weapons are exactly what we need. You cannot just ignore the law. The law was written for normal wars. This is not a normal war. This is extinction. Elder Thros leaned forward. His 3 eyes studied the human admiral with great attention. Admiral Vance, you make a compelling argument. But the Torvash ambassador raises valid concerns. If we allow humanity to ignore our treaties, what stops other species from doing the same? Nothing, Helena said simply. Nothing stops them. Any species that wants to build a ship like ours is welcome to try. We will even share our designs. The room went silent. This was not what anyone expected. You would share your weapons technology? A Rithian delegate asked, his insect voice clicking with surprise. Of course. The Prometheus was not built to make humanity powerful. It was built to stop the swarm. If other species want to help, we welcome them. We are not trying to conquer anyone. We are trying to save everyone. Crixtal threw his datapad on the floor. Lies. This is a trick. Humans want to rule the galaxy. Ambassador. Helena's voice was suddenly cold. If we wanted to rule the galaxy, we would not have come to this council. We would not have asked for permission. We would have simply taken what we wanted. Your fleet could not stop us. No fleet could stop us. We built the most powerful weapon in history, and we are asking to use it in your defense. Perhaps you should consider being grateful. The old Kelvori observer, whose name was Crystal Singer in the human language, floated down from her high seat. Her body glowed with soft blue light as she approached the center of the chamber. Everyone turned to look at her. The Kelvori rarely spoke at council meetings. When they did, wise beings listened. I have a question for the human, Crystal Singer said. Her voice was like music played on glass instruments. Your species is young. You have been traveling between stars for only 3 centuries, yet you have created technology that the oldest races have never imagined. How is this possible? Admiral Vance was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer than before. Humans are afraid, she said. We are a small species on the edge of the galaxy. We have no natural weapons, no armor, no special abilities. When we first met other species, we realized how weak we were. A Torvash could crush a human with one hand. A Velkari could outlive us by centuries. We knew that if we wanted to survive, we had to be clever. She looked around the room at all the alien faces. Fear makes humans creative. When the swarm killed 50,000 of our people on New Helsinki, that fear became something else. It became determination. We decided that we would never be helpless again. We put our best scientists, our best engineers, our best minds together. We gave them unlimited resources. We told them to build something that could protect humanity forever. And they built the Prometheus. Crystal Singer said, "Yes. They worked for 10 years. They invented new physics. They created new materials. They solved problems that had stopped other species for millennia. Because they were afraid. And because they were angry." Crystal Singer's glow changed to a thoughtful purple. Fear and anger. These are dangerous emotions. They often lead to destruction. They can, Helena agreed, but they can also lead to creation. Humans have always turned our darkest emotions into our greatest achievements. We build because we are scared. We create because we are angry. We refuse to let the swarm take anything else from us. Elder Throws raised his tentacle again. This discussion is interesting, but we must make a decision. The council must vote. Will we allow the human vessel to operate, or will we demand its destruction? Vote for destruction if you want, Admiral Vance said. But consider this. The swarm will reach Kareth in 5 weeks. 15 billion people live there. Your allied fleet cannot save them. The Prometheus can. If you destroy our ship, those people will die. All of them. Is following your laws worth 15 billion lives? The chamber was silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Crystal Singer floated back toward her seat. "I have seen many species face this choice," she said as she rose. "The choice between law and survival, between rules and life. Most choose law. They die holding their principles. A few choose survival. They live, but they change." She reached her seat and turned to look down at the council. "I wonder what you will choose." The vote took 3 hours. Every species argued. Every ambassador gave speeches. Krixtal demanded justice. Other delegates demanded mercy. The Rithians wanted to study the human ship before making a decision. The Velkari were split between their military commanders, who admired the Prometheus, and their diplomats, who feared it. In the end, the vote was close. 103 species voted to let the human ship continue. 97 species voted for its destruction. The decision was made. The Prometheus Unchained would fly to Kareth. Krixtal stormed out of the chamber without speaking to anyone. His aides followed him, looking worried. The Torvash ambassador had never lost a vote before. He did not take defeat well. Admiral Vance left quietly through a side door. She found Captain Chen waiting for her in the corridor outside. "How did it go?" he asked. "We won. Barely. Good. The crew is ready. We can leave within the hour." Helena nodded. She looked tired. The council meeting had drained her more than any battle ever could. "David," she said, using his first name for the first time in years. "What we are about to do. There is no going back. If we win, humanity will be heroes. If we lose, we will be forgotten. Either way, the galaxy will never see us the same way again." "I know," David said. "That is why we have to win." Helena smiled. It was a real smile this time, not the cold one she used in meetings. "Go save those people, Captain. Show the galaxy what humans can do." David Chen saluted and walked toward the docking bay where the Prometheus waited. 5 weeks until the swarm arrived. The battle for the future was about to begin. The sky above Kareth Prime was beautiful. 2 moons hung in the purple evening sky. Ships flew between the tall silver cities. Children played in parks filled with blue flowers. 15 billion people lived their lives, not knowing that death was coming. Captain David Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus Unchained and watched the planet through his window. It looked peaceful. It looked innocent. He would not let the swarm touch it. "Report," he said calmly. Lieutenant Torres checked her screens. "Allied fleet has arrived. 112 ships from 19 species. They are forming a defensive line in high orbit. And the swarm? 6 hours away. 60 hive ships. Over 5,000 fighter organisms. Total biomass estimated at..." She paused, looking at the number again. 3 trillion tons, sir. 3 trillion tons of hungry, mindless death. The swarm did not negotiate. It did not take prisoners. It just ate. Everything. Everyone. The entire planet would be food for its endless growth. Commander Wright stood beside the captain's chair. "Our orders, sir." "We wait," David said. "Let the Allied fleet see what we are dealing with. Let them understand why we built this ship." The hours passed slowly. On the Prometheus, 300 humans prepared for battle. They checked weapons. They ran simulations. They wrote messages to their families back on Earth, messages that might never be sent. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Marcus Johnson looked at his 47 fusion reactors. Each one was humming with power. Each one was ready to feed the weapons that would soon fire. He touched the nearest reactor like it was a friend. "Do not fail me now," he whispered. "We have work to do." On the weapon deck, Lieutenant Torres walked among her crew. 50 people sat at targeting stations, each one controlling hundreds of weapons. They had trained for years for this moment. They were ready. "Remember," she told them, "the swarm adapts. If we use the same weapon too many times, they will learn to resist it. We have to keep changing. Keep them confused. Never let them know what is coming next." "Yes, ma'am," they answered together. The swarm arrived just as the Kareth sun touched the horizon. They came out of faster-than-light travel like a wave of darkness. 60 hive ships, each one the size of a mountain. They were not metal. They were alive. Giant organisms built for one purpose: to consume and grow. Smaller fighter creatures poured out of them by the thousands. The Allied fleet's sensors went crazy trying to track them all. Commander Erix of the Eternal Vigilance gave the order to fire. The Allied fleet released everything they had. Missiles flew. Energy beams cut through space. Plasma bombs exploded against the hive ships. It was not enough. The swarm kept coming. The hive ship's organic armor healed almost as fast as it was damaged. The fighter organisms died by the hundreds, but more kept coming. For every creature destroyed, 2 more took its place. "We cannot stop them," Commander Erix said, his voice heavy with despair. "There are too many." Captain Chen listened to the battle communications. He watched the Allied fleet fight with everything they had. He saw ships die, torn apart by swarm fighters or dissolved by the acid that the hive ships sprayed. The defense line was breaking. "Take us in," he said. The Prometheus Unchained moved forward. It passed through the Allied fleet like a shark swimming through smaller fish. The alien ships made room, watching the human vessel with a mixture of hope and fear. This was the moment of truth. Either the illegal ship would save them, or they would all die together. "All weapons free," Captain Chen announced. "Fire at will," the Prometheus screamed again. But this time was different. This was not a test. This was war. The ship's hull transformed into a wall of death. Thousands of weapons fired in perfect patterns. The computer systems tracked every swarm creature, every hive ship, every movement. They calculated angles and timing with impossible speed. They found weaknesses that no living mind could see. The first hive ship died in 30 seconds. Its organic armor could not heal fast enough. The Prometheus hit it with so many different weapons that its body simply fell apart. The second hive ship tried to run. The probability collapse generators caught it. The ship simply stopped existing. One moment it was there. The next moment it was a cloud of particles spreading through space. The third hive ship attacked directly. It sprayed acid at the Prometheus, trying to melt its hull. The acid hit the black metal and something strange happened. The hull absorbed it. Energy readings on the ship actually went up. "What is happening?" Commander Erix asked, from his damaged flagship. Chief Engineer Johnson answered from the Prometheus engine room. He was laughing. "The hull is converting their attacks into power. They are feeding us." The battle continued for 3 hours. The Allied fleet watched in amazement as one human ship did what their entire force could not do. The Prometheus moved through the swarm like it was dancing. Its weapons never stopped firing. Its hull never stopped changing. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Hive ships died one by one, their biomass scattered into space. The fighter organisms tried to swarm the Prometheus, covering it in millions of small bodies. The ship activated something new. A wave of energy passed through its hull. Every organism touching it simply disappeared. "What was that?" Lieutenant Torres asked, surprised by her own weapons. "Cleanup protocol," a voice answered from the ship's computer. "Experimental. First field test successful. By the end of the 3rd hour, 40 hive ships were dead. The remaining 20 tried to run. Captain Chen looked at his crew. Their faces were tired but proud. They had done something impossible. They had stopped the swarm. But 20 hive ships were still dangerous. If they escaped, they would grow again. They would come back stronger. "Do we pursue?" Commander Wright asked. David thought about it. The ship had plenty of power left. They could chase down every hive ship and destroy it. They could end the swarm threat forever. But that was not why they came here. "No," he said. "Our mission was to protect Kareth. Kareth is protected. We are done. Sir, if they escape, they will remember. They will tell other swarms what happened here. They will tell them about the ship that killed 40 of their hive ships without taking any damage. Maybe that memory will make them afraid. Maybe they will leave our part of the galaxy alone." Wright looked doubtful, but he nodded. "Yes, sir." The Prometheus Unchained moved back toward the Allied fleet. Around it, the wreckage of the battle floated in space. Dead hive ships, destroyed fighters, and the broken remains of 17 Allied vessels that had not survived. Commander Erix's voice came through the communication system. "Human vessel, Captain Chen. I do not have words. I have fought in space for 60 years. I have never seen anything like that." How did you?" David smiled tiredly. "We built something special, Commander. Something the galaxy has never seen. And we did it because we were tired of losing people. We were tired of being afraid. We wanted to protect everyone, not just ourselves." "You succeeded," Erix said. "By the stars, you succeeded." On the planet below, 15 billion people looked up at the sky. They had watched the battle through telescopes and sensors. They had seen their fleet failing. They had prepared to die. Then they had seen the black ship arrive. Now, they were alive. Because of one ship. Because of 300 humans who refused to let anyone else die. In the capital city, the crowd started to cheer. The sound spread from building to building, city to city. All across the planet, people celebrated their survival. Captain Chen looked at the celebrating world and felt something warm in his chest. This was why they built the Prometheus. This moment, this feeling. They had saved 15 billion lives. It was worth everything. The celebration hall on Kareth Prime was the largest building on the planet. It was made of white stone and clear crystal. Tonight, it was filled with lights and music and thousands of voices speaking in 100 different languages. Representatives from every species had come to honor the heroes of the battle. Captain David Chen stood near the back of the hall, trying to avoid attention. It was not working. Everyone wanted to talk to him. Everyone wanted to shake his hand or touch his tentacle or make whatever gesture their species used to show respect. Admiral Helena Vance found him hiding behind a large plant. "You cannot hide forever," she said. "I am not hiding. I am enjoying the plant. It is a very nice plant." "Thank you." "I thought so too." They stood together in comfortable silence for a moment. Outside the windows, the Prometheus Unchained hung in orbit. Its black hull was still marked with burns from the battle. It looked tired but proud. "The Council wants to talk to you," Helena said. "I know. They are going to change the laws because of what you did. I know that too. Are you not curious about what the new laws will say?" David shrugged. "Laws are just words on paper. What matters is what people do. We did something good. That is what matters." Helena smiled. "When did you become so wise?" "Sometime between the 3rd and 4th hive ship, I think." She laughed. It was a good laugh. David realized he had not heard her laugh in years. The war had taken that from her. Maybe this victory had given it back. Elder Thros appeared at the center of the hall and raised his tentacle for attention. The music stopped. The conversations faded. Everyone turned to look at the ancient Velkari. "Distinguished guests," he said, "we gather tonight to celebrate a great victory. The Devourer swarm has been defeated. Kareth Prime has been saved. 15 billion lives continue because of the bravery shown in orbit above us." The crowd made sounds of agreement. Cheers in many languages filled the hall. "But we must also address a difficult truth," Elder Thros continued. "This victory was won by a ship that our laws called illegal. A ship that many of us wanted destroyed. We must ask ourselves, were we wrong?" Ambassador Krixtal stood in the crowd, his face dark with anger. But he did not speak. What could he say? The ship he wanted to destroy had just saved millions of his own people who lived on Kareth. The Galactic Council has discussed this matter, Elder Thros said. We have decided to amend our warfare accords. The new rules will include something we are calling the human exception. The room went very quiet. Everyone wanted to hear this. Any vessel may exceed standard weapons limitations. Elder Thros read from a scroll. If its primary documented purpose is the defense of species other than its own. A murmur ran through the crowd. Some were surprised. Some were pleased. A few looked worried. This means, Elder Thros continued, that the Prometheus Unchained is no longer illegal. It was built to protect others. It proved that purpose today. It is now recognized as a legitimate vessel of the Allied fleet. David Chen felt something strange in his chest. Pride, relief, and something else. Something like hope. The old Kelvori observer, Crystal Singer, floated through the crowd toward him. Her crystalline body glowed with warm golden light. The other guests moved aside to let her pass. The Kelvori were deeply respected by all species. Captain Chen, she said, her musical voice cutting through the noise of the hall. May I speak with you? Of course. She led him to a quiet balcony overlooking the city. Below them, the people of Kareth were still celebrating in the streets. Fireworks exploded in the sky. Laughter and music drifted up from a million windows. I have watched your species for 300 years, Crystal Singer said. Since you first left your world and began to explore the stars, I have wondered what you would become. And what do you think now? She was quiet for a moment. Her glow shifted through several colors that David could not interpret. Most young species follow a simple path, she finally said. They discover power. They use that power against others. They grow until they threaten everyone around them. Then they either destroy themselves or are destroyed by their neighbors. This has happened 10,000 times in the history of the galaxy. But not humans. You built the most powerful weapon ever created. You could rule the entire galaxy with that ship. No one could stop you. Yet you came to the council and asked permission to help. You saved a planet that is not your own. You protected species that have treated you with suspicion and fear. She turned to face him directly. Her crystalline eyes seemed to look straight through him. Why? She asked. Why did you not take what you could easily take? David thought about the question. He thought about Earth, his home world. He thought about the small blue planet where humanity had spent its first 1,000,000 years. He thought about all the wars, all the suffering, all the terrible things humans had done to each other throughout history. We have seen what happens when someone takes power by force, he said. We have done it ourselves, many times. It always ends badly. The strong become tyrants. The weak become slaves. Eventually, everything falls apart. He looked down at the celebrating city. We built the Prometheus because we were scared and angry. But we did not use it for conquest because we have learned something from our own history. True power is not about what you can destroy. It is about what you choose to protect. Crystal Singer's glow became bright white. That is a rare wisdom, Captain. Most species take 1,000 years to learn it. Many never learn it at all. Humans learn fast. We have to. We are small and weak and surrounded by dangers. If we do not learn quickly, we do not survive. And yet you are here. Your species grows stronger every year. Your technology advances faster than any we have seen. Now you have a weapon that could end civilizations. Yes. Does that not frighten you? David smiled. Of course it does. But fear is not always bad. Fear keeps us careful. Fear makes us think before we act. A species that is never afraid is a species that makes terrible mistakes. Crystal Singer was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was softer than before. I have lived for 50,000 years, Captain. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species burn themselves out in wars that meant nothing. I was beginning to think that intelligence always leads to destruction, that any species smart enough to build weapons is too foolish to avoid using them. She reached out and touched his hand. Her crystalline fingers were warm, not cold as he expected. You have given me hope, she said. For the first time in 10,000 years, I believe the future might be better than the past. David felt his throat tighten. He did not know what to say. Back inside the hall, Admiral Vance was giving a speech. She was thanking the Allied fleet for their courage. She was honoring the 17 ships that had been destroyed. She was promising that humanity would stand with its allies against any future threat. David and Crystal Singer watched through the window. "What will you do now, Captain?" the ancient being asked. "We will repair the Prometheus, train new crew members, improve our weapons. The swarm is not the only threat in the galaxy. There will be other battles. And you will fight them? If we must. But we would rather not. We would rather find ways to live in peace with everyone. That is the goal. That has always been the goal." Crystal Singer's light pulsed with something that might have been approval. "Then I look forward to watching humanity for another 300 years. I think you will continue to surprise us." She floated back toward the celebration, leaving David alone on the balcony. He looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, 20 swarm hive ships were fleeing into the darkness. Somewhere out there, other threats were waiting. The galaxy was vast and dangerous and full of things that wanted to destroy everything humans loved. But humans had built something that could fight back. Something powerful enough to protect not just themselves, but everyone who needed protection. The Prometheus Unchained hung in orbit above, ready for whatever came next. And for the first time in a long time, Captain David Chen allowed himself to feel something like hope. The future was uncertain. The dangers were real, but humanity would face them together with their allies. That was enough. That would always be enough. Below him, the people of Kareth continued to celebrate the gift of their lives. Above him, the stars continued to shine. And somewhere in between, one small species from one small planet had proven that power and wisdom could exist in the same heart. The galaxy would never be the same.